I told myself cancer may take your body, but it's not going to take your mind.
It's a new dawn. It's a new day.
It doesn't mean I didn't have days of darkness.
I've just woken up, and first thing I ever do is take a little peek at my ostomy bag.
It doesn't mean I wasn't sad.
I spray my pouch and it just lifts off.
It doesn't mean, I didn't cry or scream, all those things.
I don't know why.
My name is Carly. I'm a 2-time stage 3 vulvar cancer survivor. I had pain is basically the way that I was first alerted to it. Because my cancer was in my vulva, it's not like a thing that you see every day. It wasn't something that I was regularly checking on my own. And so when I started to have pain, it kind of felt like I was sitting on like a pebble, or then it got a little bit bigger, maybe a rock, and then, a golf ball. And it got to the point that I was like, this is not going away, whatever this is. And in the early 2000s, I had something called Bartholin-Bland cysts. And basically, it's like a drainage problem. So I just thought I had another cyst, but it was maybe large and in charge. It wasn't going away. So I went to the emergency room, all that type of stuff. And people just, I don't know if dismissed is the right word, but they were like, oh yeah, it's probably a cyst. Here's some medication. But there was no confirming that it was that cyst. But the pain just got worse and worse. And so finally, my family doctor had a referral put in for me, but unfortunately that referral took quite some time. More emergency room visits at the same time. Still nobody found out what was wrong with me. I was calling in sick to work. I was in extreme pain, like just coughing, standing, sitting like I am right now. Anything like that was just agonizing. And finally I saw a gynecologist, and she said, I'm not trying to scare you, but I think we need to take a biopsy. I think you have a tumor. She said that within like 5 minutes of looking at me. And I thought, well, people have been looking at me for almost a year. How did nobody think this when they looked at me, just like she did? And so that was on a Monday, and the results came back on that Friday, and it was confirmed that I had cancer. So when the doctor's like, you have stage 3 cancer, they actually put my mother in a separate room, who was told by another physician independently. And wasn't married, still not married. And so not having a partner to support you through that versus a parent was obviously different emotions to come through that. But as soon as my mom and I were reunited in the same room, the tears were just, flowing. I didn't really know how to advocate for myself then, but I think I just kind of listened a little too much. Okay, yeah, maybe it is that. At one point, a doctor said, maybe you have genital warts. And I said, I know who I'm sleeping with. I know I don't have a sexual transmitted disease. I had my regular checkups, all that kind of stuff. So I got really frustrated. And I think once everything was confirmed by a woman who was pretty much the same age as me, like we both cried when she gave me my diagnosis. I just said, okay, so you, Carly, have been going through this for almost a year. You need to really step up your game. You need to make sure that the next doctor you see doesn't, take you lightly or dismiss you. You need to ask more questions, and you need to take notes. Soon after, I met with the oncologist team within a week. They told me I was going to have chemotherapy and radiation, but more radiation than chemo. Because of where my cancer was, we really needed to treat it. And radiation was likely going to be the most effective way to reduce that tumor. A month later, I had my surgery to remove what was left of that tumor. At the end of radiation, I was begging for it to stop. Radiation took away my fertility as well. So not only being told that I have cancer, I was also told, unless you choose to attempt to retrieve eggs, you're also going to lose your fertility. So I had to make a decision within 24 hours because I needed to be rushed in so quickly if I wanted to do that. I think had I been 28, I probably would have, but I was 38, not in a serious relationship of any kind. So I just said, this is not part of my path to be a parent. But obviously I mourned that because as a woman, as much as we can be independent and free thinkers and all this, I was a little girl who dreamt about being a mom and like having a cute house with a hubby and all that. And Now I'm dealing with vulvar cancer. And I was just like, this is not the way I saw my life going. And I see my friends with their children, they have legacy. When they pass, hopefully at the age of 96 in their sleep, their children are going to have children. But every once in a while, I'm like, wow, like what happens when I do go? Who is like, I'm not leaving a part of my DNA anywhere. And so that has been a little hard, but I don't feel shame or sadness about not being a mom per se. It's more about when I'm gone, like what's left of me, what's my legacy. So once I dealt with that, and then the surgery removed the tumor. And so I never really got massive margins because, just like if you look at a freckle, if you just cut around that freckle, if that was the cancer, there could be a little bit on the outskirts. So you want to cut more around that freckle. So had they done that to me, I would have lost other parts of my anatomy. So they said, let's not do that yet. Let's just watch. For the 2.5 or so years in between the second diagnosis, I struggled with bowel and urine control to the point that I went to bladder clinics, to the point that I was wearing adult diapers. I didn't work much because I couldn't leave my home from extreme anxiety. Even just a 4-minute drive to the mall, which I today would be like, let's go to the mall. I wouldn't go because I was so scared that I was going to soil myself because that had happened in those 2 years, be it if I was driving or out somewhere. So when my cancer was confirmed to be back, obviously I was not happy about it. But one of the first things that I said was, does this mean if you cut more and I lose things, does that mean I'm not going to soil myself anymore? That was literally one of the first things that I asked. And that's when they said, yes, you're going to lose your rectum. You're going to have a lot of your vulva removed and rebuilt, and you're going to get a colostomy bag. And so I think one of the biggest reasons why I accept that colostomy bag is because I was like, I am never going to soil myself ever again, at least that way. You can always have a little oopsie, right? And I just didn't care because my quality of life was terrible. And that's when they said, you're going to have pelvic exenteration surgery. Basically, they cut me bra line to bikini line, opened me up like Humpty Dumpty, complete hysterectomy, my rectum removed and closed, my colostomy placed. Colostomy is on the left side, and it's connected to my sigmoid colon. But again, I was like, okay, that's going to save my life. Whatever chance do I do?
It's time to do a bag change. Let me show you how I do things.
It really wasn't hard for me because I actually use my colostomy as a shield, because it is really hard to talk about having a rebuilt vulva that's very narrow and hard for intimacy.
My pouch, which I've already cut to the size that I want my opening. I've got an adhesive remover wipe and, of course, adhesive remover spray. So let's get started with my change. What?
It's very hard to talk about not having a rectum. We jokingly call it a Barbie butt in the ostomy community because a Barbie doll has no butthole, right? So we call it a Barbie butt or Ken butt for a gentleman. So those things were harder for me to have conversations with people, even people who loved me. So I kind of and still do hide behind the bag because it's easier for me to talk about. And every year, every month, every day, I think about being more transparent about my vulvar journey. I talk about it, but I don't talk about how hard that has been. And I know it would be quite powerful. It's something you can't put in an image. It's just words, really, So for me, the ostomy was the easiest thing. Did I have some, trials and tribulations along the way? Sure. You got to learn what's right for you. And, having an intestine in your stomach is obviously different. But I mean, I haven't wiped my back end since 2018 and I don't miss it. If I meet somebody new at a house or something or at a pub, whatever, and people are like, oh, are you married? Do you have any kids? Like the usual questions people ask you. I say, oh, I've got a cat. And then they're like, oh, what do you do for work? You explain that. But I also say, and I'm a cancer survivor and have a colostomy, because if somebody hears a little toot or a little rumble, or if I take that little kit out of my purse and I need to go to the bathroom and deal with it. So I just get it out there. And you know what? Nobody's ever really minded. But a colostomy is a little different than an ileostomy because I still have a colon. And so my digestion is pretty much the same as what it would be for you. So I don't have to deal with it all the time. I only have to deal with it when it's full. And so I learned about 2.5 years in that I didn't actually have to empty my colostomy. I could just wear an enclosed pouch, and when it was full, take it off, properly dispose of it, and put on a new one. So I also haven't put stool in a toilet in almost 6 years. When you get a cancer that's below the belt, it doesn't have to be just vulvar. It can be anywhere below the belt. We feel shame, we feel disgust, we feel dirty, but this is a different story, right? And I get it, it's our private parts, but you should never feel shame. But I think that is still the way it is, and it's just hard to talk about because that is literally, like, that's like our chastity belt, right? Like, and so to talk about that, it just seems odd. But when you get a cancer there, it's like, well, what are you supposed to do? Like, you gotta talk about it. And not every type of screening that we get as a woman is necessarily going to catch everything that may happen to you. Like a lot of these female cancers, there's no pain, there's no alert. And by the time they're discovered, it's too late. They said, this is all we can do now. We have been super aggressive with all these treatments. We have taken out everything and anything that we can. If cancer was to come back, if it was the same type of cancer, I should say, there's really no further treatment. We have done everything and anything. So I, again, was doing monthly, 3 months, 6 months, and then graduated to year. And now I go in every year. I was just in for my annual checkup in August, and everything's fine. And my pattern is pain. So as long as I'm not feeling pain, my mind's pretty okay. Because to give every cancer patient a PET scan or a CT scan or whatever type of scan every 3-6 months, there's too many of us out there and only so many scanning machines. And you also don't want to live in that what if. So I'm just living. But I have no reason to feel my cancer's back. So I think I'm going to be okay. I think cancer has made me into a better person. I would call pre-cancer Carly a little self-conscious, a little worried too much about what others think, just not really like happy, but not fulfilling what I really should have done and should have been type of a person. Whereas cancer, you have no choice. This is your new job. You need to fight. You need to go to work every day. There's no calling in sick. You gotta go. And so it just overtook me. And like, I didn't work for 6 years because of the aggressive treatments and the way my body was in so much pain. And so I think I had a little more time as well to just get to know myself a little differently because I was home. I was spending a lot of time alone. And that's kind of what took me out to social media is I was sitting at home, and Instagram in 2014 is not like Instagram today. Had I started sharing my journey like I see other cancer survivors sharing today, it would have been a totally different thing for me. I didn't have that community. And so I think I was my community.
Over my stoma, press it back on the skin, and I'm done.
I just started to see things, and I would just be in bed in pain and just like hashtag ostomy bag, hashtag cancer survivor, hashtag vulvar, whatever I was looking up. And I started to see that there were other people out there talking about things. And now I welcome the other new members into our community. And we all usually have our unique stories, but we all ended up at this bag life. And I think it's so easy to look at the ostomy bag and hate it. But I think we need to remember we need to hate what brought us there. I need to hate cancer more. I don't need to hate this ostomy bag. I need to hate cancer. I don't like the word hate for being misdiagnosed, but I need to hate that I wasn't diagnosed for over a year, that my cancer got more aggressive by the day. So my ostomy bag, not that anybody wants one, but it's really the least of my concerns. And so I just kind of look at it differently, and that's the way I tell other people.
If this video was meaningful for you, we've queued up another video here, a playlist here, and make sure you subscribe. Thank you for being a part of the Patient Story community. You're not alone.